there's a lot of bad things you can try to focus on. If you're trying to practice your backswing, but your follow through looks like what you just described, you have no shot. It's not going to work.
Totally.
So a lot of people are trying to fix their swing at home, and if you're trying to fix your own swing, we'll give you some advice on how to do that. I think people start in the wrong place, and I can't wait to see you demonstrate some of these bad follow-throughs, or you're going to do it, that you see in pro-ams all the time. So check out Tech Swing here, and I want to show a few things that really good players do when they hit. So first, you've got Collin Morikawa over here on the left. He's made a few $million playing golf, and he does a lot of the follow-through really nicely. Now, Hannah, most people don't think about how the follow-through works as actually a way to refine how you hit a ball. But what do you think? You think there's a chance that this might go okay?
You know, I think all of it is connected. So I think you might be onto something there.
Okay, all right, it is all connected. And to try to fix impact, or when you hit the ball in that tiny minutia amount of time, is just not even like a real thing. But most people don't know if they do the follow through, where we're stopping with Collin here and where we're going to show your swing, that will clean up a lot of the baggage and garbage that people have when they hit a shot. Okay. So if I were telling someone what to do if you wanted to fix your own swing, place to start is actually do the follow through first, and don't worry too much about how the backswing works. Because if you can nail some of these positions in the follow through, you're more than likely going to be much more functional as a golfer. Then you can go into the backswing and start cleaning up that side of it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about how that works. So Collin, when he hits this shot, I've just freezed it when his trail arm is parallel to the ground. First, you can see how straight it is. There's almost no flex in his trail elbow. That's where most golfers go wrong, and you would notice this, especially because we've got a free way to capture your swing in our app, the swing capture tool. You'll start to see the worse you are, the more elbow flex you have at this point in time in the swing in those videos. I know because I can see a lot of them, and it's a direct correlation to skill. Same thing with your lead elbow. You're going to have some amount of flex in it depending on how much you can bend your arm anyway. The least amount of flex I ever have in my elbow is about 5 degrees. It's always somewhat bent. So I wouldn't expect 0, but that is a correlation to skill too. As you bend your trail elbow, so does your lead elbow. Okay. So having both of your arms straighter is a better way to start working on fixing your own game. Then you can see the height of his left leg. Does that look really flexed to you, or does that look fairly straight? Straight. Real straight. So it's not a hyperextended knee, but you can kind of see the theme. Straight, straight, straight. That would be a nice way to go. The angle of his hips, ever so slightly backward. And then when you look at the angle of his back, you can definitely tell that he isn't leaning forward at this point, he's leaning backwards. Yep. And the amount you would want to do that is about 5 degrees. And we're going to watch yours and see how close you get to Collin now. So I've got you posed on the downswing when the shaft's parallel to the ground. And let's just keep going through some frames here. So first, you can see how your shoulders are bent forward. So that's this angle, 31 degrees. That's okay, you need that on the downswing. But now you need to get out of that forward bend like you see Collin. You also have some other pieces of this. You have your hips tilted to the right 2 degrees. Well, the PGA Tour players, when their arm is parallel to the ground, the follow through, have their hips tilted to the right 14 degrees. Wow. So now you've got to figure out how to make that work. It's all these little small things that seem like tiny details. It's the important stuff that makes golf easy. So I want to watch those two in particular. And then the hip turn. So tour players like Collin on the swing have their hips turned 63 degrees at that point, and their shoulders 71. So you're going to make all of that happen in a tiny window. Wow. And then how do most people look when they make this follow through, or when they stop here, like Collin is?
The thing demonstrate that I see a lot
is get out of your way. You can face the camera here.
A little bit of a quit and kind of ending up like this.
Yeah, so that's forward bent.
Most frequent.
Face like I am and do that same thing. And we'll talk about what you're doing to demonstrate that. So you got the bend in your lead elbow, bend in your trail elbow, the bend in your knee, and the forward bend instead of the backward piece that he's got. And all those tilting to the right, in particular your hips, are pretty level at that point in time too. It's all wrong. And then people who hit like that, who aren't really watching their swing or don't take lessons or are guessing at what to do. Maybe you watch a lot of TV and you hear TV commentators tell you you're swinging too fast, whatever. There's a lot of bad things you can try to focus on. If you're trying to practice your backswing, but your follow through looks like what you just described, you have no shot. It's not going to work.
Totally.
So that's why this is actually the place to start to fix yourself. Okay, so shoulder bend. That one's going to go from 31 to 5 on this side. That's what tour players do. I'm going to write a 5 up there just so that I remember. I might forget. The hip tilt, 14 to the right. It's kind of an R. Is that a terrible R?
You got it.
Well, I got to draw with a straight line. And then 63 with the hip turn. Let's see how you do, how close you get to all those. So you can see all those numbers changing. They're all trending towards that spot. I'm going to try to stop it when I think your right arm's parallel to the ground. And let's do some comping here. The shoulder bend. First, you look amazingly similar to Colin. There's way more similarities than differences, right? So 4 degrees back as tour players, or sorry, 5 degrees back, you're so far off.
We have work to do.
It's 1 degree. I promise you're doing that great. 12 to the right with the hip tilt, 14 was the tour players, and 51 to 63, you're turned a little bit less, but it's fairly small.
Okay.
So you did a nice job on all of those things. Now, go to do that demo again of what people do when they struggle. This is almost universal how people play golf too. You're being generous. It's usually more forward, weight more back, wrist bent even more awkwardly. It's just none of that is right. And then I didn't even really talk about your trail leg on this one, 21 degrees of flex. That's about the average. Colin's actually bent more than that by a few degrees. It's just not going to work.
Yep.
So to fix your swing, that's how you do it. Now the way I would start would be probably just throw the club down on the ground. Good job. You listen so well. Okay, now do the follow through on this side of the ball the right way. Good. Just start with your arms really straight. Your weight's on mainly your foot. You should be tilted to the right, which you do. You actually could do that a touch more when you hit. And your hips are turned about 60 degrees. And even if they went a little more, like closer to 90, so when you're looking at it from the camera, it's almost 90 degrees a turn. That'd be a nice way to start. Then you can just go backward to where your arms are parallel to the ground and try to get to the same spot again. This is like legitimate practice of how to make yourself better at home. You don't need a club all the time. Most of it's just learning the mechanics of how the best players move. That's actually fixing your swing. So demonstrate the right way. Do that one more time. You can keep the club down on the ground. So right way is Hannah and wrong way is me. Ready? Go.
Just a small difference.
Don't laugh at me.
Just a small difference.
Don't laugh at me.
Pretty good.
Some people watching this right now swing like
You're
that.
right. I shouldn't say that.
I know. That's okay. They'll accept your apology. So that's a good way to practice. Then you can just make a tiny swing where you just are hitting either the carpet at home in your living room or punching the ground with a piece of turf, doing the same thing. So show them that kind of speed. Probably like 20% speed. So it's nothing. Short swing on both sides. And just learning how to do it. Now you're learning how to do it with a club, and you're pushing on the club in a particular way to make it move how you want. So it's a good skill to then get to that. Then I'd start hitting a ball, trying to replicate the same thing, and then ultimately you can make longer swings, smash the ground, and still stop at that same point in time with all the mechanics the same. That's how you do this on your own. That will clean up a ton of stuff that might be causing you to play poorly. And from there, then you can worry about the angle of the face, the path, the trajectory of your hands in the backswing, how much you turn in the backswing or tilt or bend yourself backward. All that matters. This is where you start.
Sounds great.
What do you think? You think everybody at home can do that?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Would you add anything to what I said? And it's okay, I forget everything.
No, I think that's a really solid place to start, especially with chipping motions first, then hitting actual balls, and then moving into the full swing so you actually have the feel. And
if you screw up anywhere in there, you've got to go back a couple steps.
True.
And get good at it again, then progress back up
Good
again.
idea.
But you watch this in amateur players and pro-ams all the time. How many of them have a follow-through that you think looks anything like yours?
If they are in a pro-am with me and they have a follow-through that looks similar to me or Colin, they're usually a +1 or a scratch.
Right. And people start with, well, am I holding it right? Am I aiming well enough? That's the like garbage that you scrape off at the end. Like you got to scrap of dirt on you. That's
Take care of this first.
This
then,
is the important part.
Totally.
Okay. Good advice. You should teach golf.
Thinking about it.
Okay, all right. Well, if you change it, let me know. You got GOLFTECs everywhere. I don't know if you knew that or not. Well, that's how you should fix your own swing at home. Start with the follow through, then go backwards and try to solve it from there. Most of the time when I'm watching people hit, that's actually where I'm starting, is what's that point look like when your trail arm's parallel to the ground. You can do this at home. For more stuff, follow Hannah on social media. Otherwise, we're here all the time, golftec.com. Find a coach near you.